by Star Editorial BoardMon. In November 27, 2017, at first glance an agreement announced last week to permit hundreds of thousands of Rohingya Muslims to return to their homes in Burma from a squalid refugee camp in Bangladesh as promising. After all, about 620,000 Rohingya have been living in unspeakable conditions in a camp in Bangladesh's Cox's Bazar since they began fleeing Burma, also known as Myanmar, on August 25. That's when the Burmese army began what it euphemistically called clearance operations, following an attack on police posts by a group of Rohingya insurgents. What those operations actually amounted to, according to human rights organizations, were attacks on the minority Muslim Rohingya, including systematic rapes, murders and the burnings of their homes and villages. Hence, the concerns of human rights organizations and countries such as Canada about the agreement. As it stands now, the details of the deal are as unclear as its intentions. Human rights groups worry that the agreement might simply be camouflage to hide Burma's true intention, forcing the Rohingya back under heaven knows what horrific conditions to turn world attention away from their plight and the shameful role of the military leadership in it. They should not be allowed to get away with it. Canada must consider working with other countries on imposing sanctions that are stiff enough to force Burma to stop its bloody ethnic cleansing of the Rohingya and allow them to return home and live there safely. Sensibly, Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland told the Star's editorial board on Friday that she is considering just that, targeted sanctions against Burma's leaders, in addition to the arms embargo Canada already has in place. It is ethnic cleansing, she said, of the Burmese actions against the Rohingya. These are bloody actions. And Canada, she says, believes in international accountability. What that accountability would look like is this: the Burmese leadership must be held accountable for crimes against humanity, the Rohingya must be allowed to safely return home, and when they get there they must have a decent life. Sadly, agreement or no agreement, all of that is very much up in the air. As former Foreign Affairs Minister Lloyd Axworthy, who chairs the Canadian-based World Refugee Council, says, it is now as if the Rohingya would return to concentration camps. It is not even known how the Rohingya could return. The Burmese say they will allow Rohingya back only if they have residency documents. Many will not, since they fled under fear of death with only the clothes on their backs. Nor is it clear that the agreement between Burma and Bangladesh isn't simply a way of forcing the Rohingya to involuntarily return home so they are not Bangladesh's problem anymore. Indeed, as Amnesty International asks, why would any Rohingya want to return voluntarily considering the ethnic cleansing in Burma is ongoing? Myanmar and Bangladesh have clear obligations under international law, says Amnesty International, not to return individuals to a situation in which they are at risk of persecution or other serious human rights violations. Still, even in the midst of this quagmire, Canada is working hard to help. International Development Minister Marie-Claude Bibeau last week visited a camp housing displaced Rohingya, for example, and announced $35 million over 5 years to help Bangladesh address the needs of women and girls among the enormous influx of refugees. Nor is this country's intervention in the crisis new. Canada stepped up its involvement in October when it named Bob Rae as a special envoy to get a first-hand view of the crisis in Burma and report back on solutions. And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau expressed Canada's deep concerns to Aung San Suu Kyi, the de facto leader of Burma, on the sidelines of the APEC summit in Da Nang, Vietnam, earlier this month. As Freeland told the Star on Friday, we need to speak out for the Rohingya, and call the military leadership to account for their crimes. That is the right thing to do. Canada should lead the way with tougher measures.